Our presentation is going to be on Chapter 13, which is on experiments and observational studies. Here are the links that you'll need if you want extra help. Here are the objectives. We have the student will identify methods of data collection. The student will describe the characteristics of a well-designed and well-conducted survey. The students will identify sources of bias in sampling and surveys. The student will sample from a population using various sampling methods, including simple random sample, stratified sample, and cluster sample. The student will describe the characteristics of a well-designed and well-conducted experiment. The student will discuss the practice of assigning treatments within an experiment. The student will describe the need for control groups, randomization, and replication within experiments. The student will conduct a completely randomized experiment for 2 treatments. The student will conduct an experiment using a randomized block design, including matched pairs. The student will analyze a study for source of bias and confounding variables. The student will describe the need for blinding in an experiment. The student will describe the types of conclusions that may be drawn from observational studies, experiments, and surveys. And finally, the student will determine the generalizability of results from observational studies, experiments, and surveys. And then these are the videos that you can watch to help you understand what you read more. This includes the video of your homework, the AP practice question, the quiz video, and 2 extra videos to help you understand more. Experiments. An experiment manipulates factors levels to create treatments, randomly assigns subjects to these treatment levels, and then compares the response of the subject groups across treatment levels. An experiment allows us to find a cause and effect relationship. Experiments include the factor. The factor, also called an independent variable, is an explanatory variable manipulated by the experimenter. Each factor has 2 or more levels. And the response variable. One or more of these variables, referred to as the factors of the study, are controlled so that data may be obtained about how the factor influenced another variable, referred to as the response variable, or simply the response. Observational study. An observational study is a study based on data in which no manipulation of factors has been employed. Researchers don't assign choices or treatments, they observe them. Different types of observational studies include retrospective study, which need not to be based on random samples and usually focuses on estimating differences between groups or associations between variables. First identify subjects, then collect data on their past. And then the other study would be prospective study, an observational study in which subjects are followed to observe future outcomes. Identify subjects in advance and collect data as events occur. This would be an example of the study designs. We have, as you can see, it goes study designs, observational, experimental, and then it goes out further. Conclusion. In conclusion, students should be able to recognize the difference between an observational study and an experiment. Students should now have an understanding of a response variable and a factor. They should also know that researchers don't assign choices or treatments, they observe them. Students should know the types of studies used in observational studies and what each different type are based on and what variables are involved. In relation to other topics, experimental designs and observational studies are used to conduct different tests. Obviously, not everything can be tested or experimented. For example, we can't make pregnant people drink to find out the possibility of the baby being born with a defect. Another thing that is also in relation to conducting tests is things such as lurking variables, control groups, as well as setting up experiments in general. You should have learned the difference between observational and experimental studies. An observational study does not impose a treatment. Experimental studies apply treatments. You should have also learned that there are different types of experiments that can be conducted. These include retrospective and prospective, blind and double-blind. And then here are your homework problems. It's page 312, number 1, 3, 5, 13, 21, 25, 27, 35. This is the link to your free response question. The free response is going to be located after the multiple choice. And lastly, the activity. If you click on flashcards, it will take you to a link that will give you flashcards with definitions, and there's also tests and other helpful studying techniques that can be used.